It's a Mars domination week ahead. We've got some intensity in the sky, but positive courage, conviction, the ability to move into a level of bold confidence in each of our lives. It's not that easy to acquire. It's a sustained flow between Mars and the sun, as well as Mars in a flow relationship to Pluto. We're going to look at how this sky plays out for you in the week ahead based on your sun, moon, and rising sign. So you can grab that bull by the horns and run with it. We're also going to talk very briefly about what just happened in the news cycle, which is that Joe Biden has stepped down, something that I have predicted already in multiple videos from this election contest. And we're going to look a little bit about why it happened, but more importantly, where it happened in the sky at the time of his announcement on X, because it impacts the chart of Kamala Harris. We're going to briefly touch on Kamala's chart because it's interesting to me to look at this time of his step down, his announcement on Twitter, and when that happened and what that looks like in relationship to Kamala Harris's outcome and her new role as the nominee for the Democratic Party, maybe. So some of this is just such breaking news. All Joe said is he's stepping down and he's sort of passing the torch to Kamala. But do the Democrats want to have a convention and put Kamala into the race, into a competition with other candidates as a free-for-all? Let's see what's going to happen in the drama of the sky, but I'll give you a clue on today's video. All right, if you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian. I do mundane or world astrology. Indeed, I did predict the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. I even predicted the time frame for it. And I also have mentioned multiple times that Biden will step down, and I have told you why. I want to say one thing. I'm not political. Believe it or not, I haven't voted ever in my life at 62 years old. I am just apolitical as all hell. However, I do world astrology when events are about tsunamis or about wars in the Middle East. I cover that too. Happens to be we're in an election cycle, and I'm looking at the astrology of the USA election. All right. And when Canada is in an election cycle, guys, I'll cover Canada, right? We're at my home country where I live. So I'm trying my best to keep up with world events, but I can't do everything all the time, right? I'm just one person. All right. So let me tell you a few things about this week's sky first, and we'll look at some charts. Mars and the sun are going to be tracking like together, So when I say Mars and sun are flowing in a sextile, which, as I said, is bold, courage, success, ambition, beautiful energy for everybody. It's often like a fleeting event, right? The sun moves a degree a day, but Mars is keeping pace with the sun, which gives us this cool energy that starts out on Monday, the 22nd, and runs for a whole week, where Mars, sun, Mars, sun, Mars, sun track with each other. Is Mars, as he's just moved into Gemini, tracking along the way with that sun in the sign of Leo. And therefore, Leo, king, leader, Mars, propulsion, ambition in the world, is going to bring a lot of positive stories coming out in the news cycle about leadership and rulers and maybe celebrities, because Leo can be that as well. So there's that. In our own lives, we can really use this energy. It's how to be proactive and prescriptive with astrology. How can you time your best life if you don't know what's happening and if you're not about to use what's happening? So I'm going to describe how you, based on your sun, moon, or rising sign, can harness this energy today and in this week ahead. Also, we do have some other interesting energy as Mars is in a trine to Pluto. Pluto's in Aquarius retrograding, and he's going to slip back into Capricorn for the last gasp, September, October, and November of a transit since 2008, the end of a 16-year transit. But as he's in Capricorn, starts this fall, but as he's now retrograding around 0 degrees, 1 degree, 0 degrees, Pluto of Aquarius, we'll notice that on Monday, there is going to be a flowing energy between Mars in a happy, positive, productive, prosperous trine to Pluto. So you can use that energy into Tuesday and maybe waning into Thursday as well. So we'll bring that up for your sign. I'm going to show you the sky, and I'm going to talk about the Kamala Joe thing a little bit of a different way that I've never done before. Kamala Harris Joe election stuff. I want to tell you a story about why this happened. Not, Joe Biden stepped down. It's so freaky weird. No, I want to show you why it happened. Okay, if you missed my other content, this might be educational. I am so unbelievably like am wearing my Martian red. I've got a red earring in, but get this, there's a guy doing construction below my window, which needs to be open because I don't have AC. And Mars is the guy that has, you know, a hammer and nails as well as a pistol and a sword. So it's always ironic how when I'm doing a Mars content, I get a Martian thing going on around me. I mean, you can't make this up. I've never done what I'm about to do before. This is something I thought would be an interesting development in my world, is to show you the whys of the Biden thing. You know, I don't think it's good to tell people astrology without explanation. I don't know if you guys can see. Oh no. Did I just share that YouTube video with somebody dancing with you? Let me get my video up to show you what I wanted to show you. So I think it was about the 28th of June. I have the date I'm about to show you, that I decided to put out a short that was a part of a longer video that I'd recorded explaining that Joe Biden would step down. And I gave you the why he would step down. Now, I actually said something similar, I believe, in my March video of this year. It was a solar ingress video, and I made predictions about politics in there as well. But I want to show you this, and this is what I've never done before on my own channel, is you're on my channel seeing my channel. I mean, it's kind of weird, but these are my shorts in the back end. And I have a video guy who does them. And this morning he put out one short, and there's a one from a while ago. Now, I recorded these shorts before things happened, like the Donald Trump thing with the assassination. There was a short about that was put out weeks before Donald Trump's, problem moment with his ear. But I want to show you the why of why Biden has stepped down. I want to show you exactly why by playing the video. Why I called it Why Biden Drops Out. Boy, did I get grief in my comments. A bunch of angry Democrats, just because you're predicting, like, people shoot the messenger. Why do people shoot the messenger? I say things about Trump and they shoot me. I say things about Biden and they shoot me. I'm neither Trump nor Biden. I'm apolitical. I don't want to have to repeat myself. I don't vote. And I never have. Long said that Joe Biden will not be the candidate in the fall election. I'm recording this on June the 28th, the day after Joe Biden and Donald Trump were in a presidential debate. The consensus is that Joe Biden performed poorly. He's likely going to be asked to step down. In 1968, Lyndon Baines Johnson stepped down. He decided not to run for re-election. Why did he do that? Because he was involved in the Vietnam War and his ratings were plummeting, and he knew he wouldn't win the election for his party. There was also an eclipse in Aries on the 25th of March, 1968. We also had Chiron in Aries in 1968 with the North Node with eclipses. The last time Chiron was with eclipses in Aries. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. That's how astrology works. Rinse and repeat. So, because also, thank you to a commenter on my channel, not only did Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1968 have a lot of problems trying to manage the Vietnam War and protests and student protests, and I actually said there will be sit-ins and student protests just like 1968 in my Aries ingress video for March that I put out, because we're seeing the same cycle of Chiron in Aries with the North Node and eclipses that we last saw in 1968. Lyndon Baines Johnson stepped down from the candidacy, the nomination. Well, from the candidacy, he was still in the primaries, and I think he was, it was still open. But he stepped down because he had terrible ratings for the war, and number two, he had a health condition, and he had a heart problem, and he was supposedly worried that he wouldn't make it through a second term or even through the election process. So Joe Biden has a health problem. Joe Biden has terrible ratings with young people and with the Muslim vote because of the Gaza situation and the Israel situation. So we keep seeing the same thing all over again. Astrology is rinse and repeat. I took a look at Joe Biden's solar return chart. I recorded that video on July the 16th, and it came out a couple of days ago. My video guy turned around a short for me, and this is what I said about the solar return. I want to explain exactly what I mean about the solar return. Now you can see my whole page. I want to go back to my own channel. Didn't mean to do it that way. A solar return chart is the birthday chart. I took a look at Joe Biden's solar return birthday chart, cast for his place of birth when the sun came back to, oh no, I'm not even getting where I want, where the sun came back to where it was when he was born. And in 2023, solar return. And that chart said everything. It said that he would not be the electoral, nominee in the race, in the running. There were so many reasons for that. And also his solar return chart of 2024. But what I wanted to share was the way I said it. I don't know if I can repeat myself, but his sun in the solar return chart, there's a short that came out this morning. His moon is in the setting place, which means it's where the moon is going into the darkness. Like below the horizon line. Now, technically, it's on the edge. It's literally the moon is right on the exact descendant of the solar return chart. And I just looked at it and I went, well, this does not look good. This is like the dark, the moon is going into the dark. And the moon can be your body, your mind, the prana, the energy that enlivens your body. And also when you're a politician, the public, how the public see you. And you don't want to see the moon at the bottom or heading into the darkness. And so that's the other reason. And there's a short that's out there. I'm not going to play it for you, but you get the idea. I'm trying to educate people that astrology is a divinatory tool. It's not really about navel gazing. You can do it that way. I mean, you can use it to look at your personality and your character in the game of life, but it's also about understanding time cycles and using them proactively. Make time in your best life, making the most out of your life. It's a lot of this stuff. It's like the bumper bowling guardrail so you don't gutter ball out. I just had a great talk with an agent this morning. We're going to go ahead and propose a book, in a bit of a kind of astrology book that hasn't been put into the public. And so this is an exciting time to be an astrologer. All right, so I'm going to show you the sky and I'm going to tell you a few stories and we're going to talk about your sign. Listen for your sun sign when you're talking about your career and purpose. Moon sign can be about your home needs and your body and your mind. And your sun and your rising sign is more like everything about you. I think of the rising as the avatar in the video game or the character in the movie. The solar energy is your eternal self, the real you, that plays the roles. And then the moon is kind of like your mindset about life, how, your mind, your emotions, the way you perceive life as this embodied being, right? As this embodied soul. But the body itself is the ascendant, and the rising sign is very much the character that you've been cast in, that kind of thing. So let's take a look at the sky and a few stories here. I was busy with teaching a class for my Patreon community this morning. And if you want to check out my Patreon community, please do. And my Sky Reader class starts in September, 6 weeks to time your own life, be your own astrologer. Really fun class. I love teaching it. If you want to come aboard, get on the early bird discount wait list. It's in the description box under the video. Click the more button, as well as my Sky Reader 2024 videos. Each one is 90 minutes for your sign, are now on sale for the summer sale price, never made public. So if you want 90 minutes of content for $14 describing the ins and outs of your sign for the year, look in my description box. You can buy for $33, 12 signs worth of content, 12 videos times 90 minutes, and share with friends and family. All right, that's enough promotion. Let's go ahead and talk about the sky. First of all, I want to show you Joe Biden, not Kamala Harris. And the reason is that when Biden said, I'm stepping down, this was what was happening. This is Joe Biden's chart. And then at the time that he decided that he was going to no longer be the nominee for the presidency, then what happened is that this is the sky. Mars is in Gemini, crossing his Uranus, right? His Uranus. It was about 1:58 p.m. because people started texting me about 3 hours earlier in my time zone. And this Mars is at the bending of the nodes of fate. I love that word, bending of the nodes of fate. It just makes it sound like I'm in a Game of Thrones, right? Here's his north and south node connected to his midheaven, which is his career and reputation, right? And you can see that this is a square, which is a difficult, challenging aspect, the bending of the nodes, and its critical destiny plays at hand. Mars just moved into Gemini. I did a whole video on your sign, Mars and Gemini, that came out Saturday. Please go watch it. It's about the synodic cycles as well as just Mars and Gemini. But this is a very critical, important detail because Kamala Harris has her ascendant in the sign of Gemini. And therefore, this is also a big part of her identity play in the game of life, that when Joe says, I'm out, and Mars on Uranus could be the shocking nature of it, or it can also represent Mars on Uranus, the internet, right? He made the announcement on X. He didn't get in front of a crew with a press conference. He did it on social media, but he also did it with the very same time in the real-time sky, that transiting Uranus, right, sitting right here, was in a square to transiting Mercury. And what does that mean? Shocking, surprising news, or electrifying news, like the Tower and the Tarot. A lot of people are not surprised that Joe Biden stepped down. Honestly, I don't know how anyone could be after watching his many gaffes, calling Kamala Harris Vice President Trump, among many others. I mean, we want, to imagine that somebody is going to be on their A game when they're the president of the United States. So it seemed to me inevitable anyway, for multiple reasons. But I was predicting something like this back in March because of the repeat from 1968. So this is literally a sort of story that's in the heavens now. What is this going to be? This, surprising, unexpected news with Uranus and Mercury. And here is Mars coming off of the Uranus. Here's Mars coming off the conjunction to Uranus. That was the one that put Trump in harm's way and peril, because it's on Trump's midheaven square, his ascendant Mars, at the very same time as Mars finishes his shock and awe conjunction to Uranus. Right after, we hear that there is COVID problems in Joe Biden's world. And then as this Mars moves out of Taurus in Joe Biden's house of sickness, if you don't know, every time Mars travels for 6 weeks through your sixth house of sickness, you can become ill. And Mars is the god of plagues, the emissary of Nergal, the god of plagues in the Babylonian tradition, but also any kind of inflammation, injury, or illness can befall one in the 6 weeks that Mars is traveling through one's sixth house of illness. So he did become ill during that transit. He got COVID. Then Mars left the place of illness and probably literally got COVID around the time Donald Trump was being, shot at. And now Mars moves into Gemini. Now, Gemini is the opponents for Joe Biden, anyone who's his adversary or other, but it's also mate, like my long-term significant other, right? My mate. What is a vice president? If you're going into an election, it's your running mate. So, announcements and news in the place of the running mate, right? Opposite Juno, the goddess of partnership and marriage. And there's a cutting, ending, and severing here. He's stepping away from the partnership. This is Juno in Joe Biden's chart. He's made to be paired up with others, vice president, president with a vice president. And we can see that Mars is snipping away at the status of Joe as a paired entity, as a president with a vice president, a vice president in the past with a president. And this is the end of that story. What about Kamala Harris? And the bending of the nodes of fate simply indicates that this is a foretold, foreordained, inevitable type of archetypal story that is playing out in our real time sky. And of course, we do see Mars, and we're going to do the all signs trining Pluto, and that's in play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That flow of air is a positive thing for the world. We're going to see some new good energies coming in, but we'll draw attention to how that looks in your chart, especially. Finally, I'm doing a deep dive with Erica Robinson, who is a Lenormand tarot card reader, associate and friend. And we're going to be doing a deep dive on her tarot card readings into what will happen with Kamala in the upcoming election. And I will looking at the astrology. We may or may not agree. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when we deep dive together. And that video should come out sometime in the next week or so. I'm still not sure that the Democratic National Convention isn't going to do a free-for-all in which they allow Kamala to compete. So that was some of the chitter chatter about it as Joe steps away from not the presidency. He's holding on to the helm. Right? He's not so sick that he's leaving the presidency. He's rather stepping away from the nomination. All right. And then I did say the moon was in the setting place in a solar return. That can also indicate health challenges, which we're seeing, but can be very difficult health challenges. He's on the liminal space between, setting, which is to, go gently into that good night. So I know he's got COVID, and that usually is something people recover from, but there are side effects to COVID. And there's this possibility, not a probability, that his health may take a significant downturn. You know what I mean? I don't want to say that produce any more negative thoughts there. So, or difficult thoughts. So let's put Kamala in, and then we're going to do your sign. I almost tried to pump this thing out on Sunday, and I'm like, nah, let's just do it here today on Monday. And we'll do your sign, I promise. Recently used, and we're going to put in Kamala Harris. So you can see Kamala Harris's chart. She's not that's her solar return. What? Tell me what? Kamala. This is her natal chart. And at the time that Joe said, I'm out, that was when Mars was crossing over Gemini. And you just saw that chart a minute ago, but it might be useful to put it back. And so here's her reality, right? There's some cutting energy coming into her identity house at the time Joe makes that announcement. But she also has Jupiter approaching her ascendant, which, just like Donald Trump, with Jupiter coming towards his sun, is giving him power. But there is a refrainment here because Jupiter will retrograde. And let me go ahead and get the exact degree of the retrogradation. I'm going to whip this chart into the future, so just don't get dizzy. So Jupiter never touches her ascendant. He retrogrades at 21 degrees of Gemini, and this is going to be during the US election, which is not a good sign because Jupiter can represent leader king energy as well as the sun. He tries to reach Kamala's ascendant and he retrogrades backwards. This can indicate like close but not quite energy for her to be winning something to do with leadership. Donald Trump will have the same problem, if I remember correctly, with his ascendant as well. I mean, his sun. Donald Trump's sun is at 22 degrees of Gemini. And does Jupiter make it all the way? I don't think so, but let me double check, because if Jupiter hits Donald Trump's ascendant, he's got more strength than does Kamala Harris. I'm in the middle, right? Yeah. I'm going by days in October. Jupiter's at 21, 20. Why is my computer so dark? No, 21. Well, it's pretty close. I'm going to give Donald Trump some bonus points here. Jupiter will retrograde around 21 degrees and 19 minutes, and Trump has his 22 degree and 55-minute sun, which is a part of him that can be the ruler. But the ascendant is also the identity of Kamala. Neither of them gets a perfection of Jupiter on their Kamala's ascendant or Donald Trump's sun, which is that part of him that's the leader, the ruler, with the North Node in his 11th house of good spirit, or whatever. So it's almost like, what the heck? Maybe it's neither of them. I don't know how to say that. Maybe neither of them are going to pull it off. We'll see. I always suspected that. I always said it wasn't Trump or Biden, but I could have been wrong. But neither of them maybe are going to make it. Maybe the election is delayed, as some people are astrologically fulminating about. Anything else I'd say about Kamala's chart, because I'm not doing the whole reading on her right now. That's not what I have time to do or interest in doing at this juncture. But she will have some eclipses moving through the top of her sky. The North Node moves into her top of her sky with her midheaven. The North Node moves in from the far end over here in January of 25. This is like going to expand her career or put a lot of focus on her career, but not until 2025. So keep that in mind. It's not here yet. And when I look at her solar return for the election year, Kamala Harris all by her lonesome, she has a lot of fortune on the midheaven in Gemini. And that can be, of course, just a particularly positive situation, right? But also she has Mercury at 28 degrees of Libra flowing back to the lot of fortune on the midheaven. So these are positive indicators of something good that's trying to happen for her from her birthday of October of 2023 to November of 2023, indicating an escalation of power. You can do this in a solar return, guys. Are you ready? I made this up myself. I don't know if I've never learned it, but I've been using it for 5 years and it works. It's one of my what do you call it? Not value adds, one of my unique formulas. But anyway, solar return, her whole sign house birthday is October. This means that the month, I'll annotate for all of you, this month of the solar return, the first house is her month of October, the whole birthday month, right? And you can go November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July 20th. The midheaven's at July 20th or July 19th, 20th, 21st, around there. Really, you want to round it up, right? So the midheaven's at July 21st. So on July 21st, some career event's going to happen for Kamala. It's going to be connected to Mercury, Sun, leader, news, information. It's also, and why am I bringing this up? July 21st. It's the day that Biden announced, as Mars ingressed here into her 10th house, that he is not going to run. However, baked into this energy of her solar return chart and the announcement is this: if this is October And this is October. If this is July, then this is October, and this is not November. Let's go ahead and pull up her solar return for the next year. I hope I'm not boring you. We're going to get to the all signs. You can jump ahead. Timestamps are in that title called chapters. Click the title. You can scoot through, or you can check the timestamps pin to the top of the comments. Let's take a quick look at the solar return for the actual election of November. I don't know at all if I pause the recording before showing you Kamala Harris's solar return chart for the next election. I have a feeling, the next year, I think I did pause my chart. I'm just going to leave it at that. I paused the recording and didn't restart because I was simply showing you that it doesn't look good. She's got a weak solar return chart for stepping into the birthday of October and looking like she will be the president. It doesn't look like it to me. And if I did already show you that, great, but I don't know if I paused the recording in the wrong place. This happens to me all the time in my recording studio of my dining room. Let's go ahead and look at the sky for you in the week ahead. In Renn Butler's The Archetypal Universe, he writes about when the sun and Mars are in a positive relationship to each other, which is called a sextile, is one of the ways it can be positive. He actually has a few choice words, and I love this book. It's in my description box as Lori's recommended books. Okay, Renn Butler's The Archetypal Universe. And the words here are Sun Mars energies, impulses toward dynamic action and assertion, yang boldness and courage, physical confidence and strength, centrifugal force, okay, bravery, prowess, strength, courage, assertion, dynamic action. And he usually has great quotes. So one of his quotes is something attempted, something done, by Longfellow. So Sun opposite Mars, something attempted, something done. And he also has rugged individualism, sexual passion, and virility. All right, we can go with that, right? I would like to say, in my own view, Mars is about that action and the decisive energy that we all have in our being. To decide something is about cutting, because we have to cut away one option to choose another. So Mars is the cutting planet, where Venus is the uniting planet. So in essence, where we cut something away, we have greater power. Master, how do you carve the perfect elephant every time from the block of jade? Asked the student carver. And the master says to the student carver, I simply carve away all that is not elephant. Mars carves away things, the green limb, the dead wood on the tree. Often we don't like Mars because we don't want to end, cut, and sever things, including our life sometimes, right? Injuries, accidents, beheadings, whatever. But we need the separating aspect to reality, because otherwise the uniting aspect of Venus has no meaning. And so where Mars goes, his inclination is to pare away or choose, decide. So we have a very decision and action oriented month for everyone. And the decision and actions we take are in alignment with a flow to the sun. And in general, the sun is the divine intelligence, which is why planets that cazimi the sun or connect to the sun are receiving mission instructions, so to speak. It's the solar force, the non-linear, non-local, non-time bound archetypal energy of divinity itself. Just go with the possibility. And your own sun in your chart represents that as well. So as Mars sextiles the sun, we're able to draw some of that profound energy, that solar light, that radiance of true, divine intelligence, source energy, and use it for decisions and use it for actions that we must take this week that bring us into alignment. But we can do that with assertion, with dynamism, with courage. I'll probably call this a Mars domination video, but it is a very Mars domination week ahead. There's almost nothing else happening, which is a really strange situation, because after Monday's kind of more difficult or complicated, not difficult, but more busy sky, that everything from Tuesday to the end of this week is really just Mars, Sun, Mars, Sun, Mars, Sun, Mars, Sun, Mars, Sun. It's crazy. It's one of the simplest weeks I've ever done. So let's go ahead and do your sign, right? Let's go ahead and get rid of Kamala Harris. Oh, there's her solar return that I may have cut out. Just reminding you what I did say about it, because I think I stopped the recording. It's a weak solar return chart for multiple reasons. Midheaven is ruled by Mercury in the house of undoing, self-undoing, isolation, prisons. It's not a good look. It's very weak Mercury for a presidential candidate running to be the president. This is her birthday in October. And then we see that the month of the actual election will be here, the second house. Just trust me on the technique. And that's ruled, it's not only their death planet, Pluto, but it's ruled by Saturn in the midnight hour, the bottom darkness of the sky. That is not auspicious. You do not want to have the ruler of the election month at the bottom of the sky. It just doesn't feel positive to me. And then this bottom of the sky ruler of the election month is in a square or difficult combat situation with some strong popular full moon Jupiter leader. Is it Trump? Maybe not. Maybe it's JD Vance. Maybe Trump won't even be making it to the end. But this is not her. I do not think she's going to win the election. But I have to do more videos to make that ultimate determination. I mean, more research. This was just off the cuff recording on the 21st of July. Okay, let's go ahead and do the week. We're going to start with Aries. This is actually set for the 21st. So let's move us to the day of the 22nd. Let me start with Aries. And guys, I'm going to go backwards. Thank you for all your support and encouragement, especially when I was being, I don't know why people take astrology so personally. When I was being trolled by people who are Democrats, basically, because I said Biden would step down. And, personal attacks on my character even, or warnings that I better be careful, for my safety and stuff like that. And so I think that there's like a cult like way that both extreme Republican, extreme Democrats have become. No one can see the middle way, the middle ground, the space between as a common space. It's literally, the United States is not going to be one country. I've already seen that in visions, dreams, and also astrology. It will be breaking up into more than one country over the next 30 years minimum. Okay. I know now I'm going to get trolled for that comment. Just don't. Okay. It's astrology. All right. So here we have, it's called the Pluto return. It was the fall of the Roman Empire times 2. It was the French Revolution. You can look through history and see Pluto returns of nations looking like the fall of the nation, right? The fall and the rise, of course, because what falls has to rise again from scratch. All righty. What we're going to do here is talk about Mars and the sun, because on Monday, yes, the sun is trining Neptune. And on Monday, we have Mars trining Pluto. Sure. But it's kind of like a flash in the pan. You're listening to today, and it's kind of going to coming into its waning quality. Pluto, 0 degrees of Aquarius on Monday. Mars, 0 degrees of Gemini. Basically, on Monday into Tuesday, all of us will feel that. I'll touch on it lightly for everybody. What really matters is as the sun moves forward, and now I am on the wrong day. I apologize. Then we see Mars at 1 degrees flowing to Pluto. So really the Mars-Pluto thing is most active on Sunday. Okay, that's when we're having all the news cycle spin out and pundits talk about Joe Biden stepping down. So we're not going to address that for the week ahead. What we are addressing for the week ahead is this. The sun, Mars are tracking with each other. It's insane how close they track. They continually are within a 3-degree orb of each other as the week progresses. So even to the point when we get to July 26th, they're at 4 and 4. So the whole week is energetically dynamic, assertive, action-oriented, decision-making powers for all of us individually and collectively. And with, by the way, Donald Trump's sun being in the sign of Gemini, he is super powered up with this energy of his sun in the 11th house and his first house identity. He's on his swagger. He's got his John Wayne vibe going in this entire week ahead. I have no idea what it looks like, but with Mercury and Leo, especially on July 24th, I would bet your bottom dollar he's doing major media appearances. Like he's all over. He's on Meet the Press and, talk shows. And I would think that Donald Trump is going to be all over the the news media landscape, especially with Mercury on his ascendant, especially on July the 24th. On July the 24th, which day of the week are we on? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? On July 24th, we are on Wednesday, Mercury's day. Look for big news stories about Trump on Wednesday, but also maybe announcements like he's picking cabinet members. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard's in there. I don't know. I thought the two of them would get along. He's in love with Vance. They have a Mars-Jupiter conjunction. I mean, Venus-Mars conjunction. They love each other. They're turned on by each other. They're bromancing out. But I will say this is a big week for Trump because the Mars trine Pluto activates his ascendant and his sun in positive ways. And he'll be with Mercury here, quite a bit of news stories that he's engaging in by actively engaging celebrity, media, etc. I said in another video a while ago that Pluto, I think it was in my guardian angel on Trump's shoulder, why he wasn't killed, because asteroid angel was on his ascendant. I did point out that Pluto moving through Aquarius will bring wealthy, powerful people into the orbit of Trump's support. And in fact, that has happened with Zuckerberg, I believe, and also Elon Musk, and it will probably continue. So let's get going. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. You are a Mars-ruled entity. And when you have Mars in a sextile for all of this week ahead, most acutely, you'll feel it more strongly, a little bit more strongly. You know what I mean? Like it'll feel like a little bit more juicy around the 24th. You're going to feel extremely on your A game because you are moving and shaking reality from that third house of communications, writing, social media, blogging, short distance travel, neighbors and neighborhood, learning and teaching, skills-based learning and teaching. This is the area where you're making decisions, you're taking actions, you're assertive, you're bold, you've got conviction, you've got courage. And at the same time, Jupiter is supporting that and giving it expansive blessings. And it flows to the sun in the house of your creativity, entrepreneurial endeavors. And you're really, and also your fifth house is just what brings you joy. Fifth house is also things to do with your children. There's some positive developments going on between actions and choices being made regarding third house matters. Maybe again, neighbors, neighborhood, and children. Maybe your child moves closer to you, you move closer to them, neighborhood shifts as well. And if you're looking for romance, well, Venus is there. And so some romantic excitement could happen. Very nice sizzling energy here. It's kind of like the friendly flirt energy to meet new people, Aries, in things like pubs and restaurants or an online dating app and have a nice little romantic thing begin to surge up. Because yes, it is with the sun, but it's also with Venus over here in the same whole sign flow. You may want to lean into a deeper appreciation of what brings you authentic enthusiasm, because Mars is a god of enthusiasm. And the sun is in the house of what fills you with spirit and to be inspired. So you're looking for authentic inspiration and enthusiasm and making choices and decisions that bring that into place. And I encourage you to grab the bull by the old horns here and go for it, because this is one of those beautiful skies. It's not easy to repeat. Sure, Mars can sextile the sun, but with Jupiter overlooking Mars, not in this particular configuration, it will be quite uncommon. All right, last time Mars co-joined Jupiter in Gemini was in 1989. We'll be doing a whole video on that. Hey, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. We have this kind of courage of action and decisions around your money matters this week as it pertains to home, things you're doing in and from your home. Because Mars here is also very much an entrepreneur and a self-starter, and he wants to be his own business boss in the second house. You may come up with some home-based business ideas this week, things you want to do in your home that can generate revenue. You may get a handle on eliminating wastage of spending. Jupiter loves to spend, and you may have felt like money was going out your fingers since he got here in May of this year. And Mars is like, wait a minute, let's kind of look at this like generosity principle and pull it in. Mars can help you eliminate wastage in your spending. Sometimes he spends as well. There is that, but it's a kind of a combination of what decisions are you needing to make about financial well-being and resources. And Jupiter says, I'll help make those decisions with good and positive and wise outcomes. And the actions you take support a greater vitality and a greater light in the home life that you live in as well. Like I can make stories up. I mean, domestic strife at home because there's too much money spending, not enough money saving, challenges with someone, solar figure, male figure in your home around money can be, and spending can be resolved. These sorts of things can happen. I want to get rid of the ascendant. I apologize because I was looking at Trump's chart and stuff. We don't need to look at ascendant, descendant, and all of that stuff when we're looking at this kind of a sky. Now, the other thing I'd say is, what do you want to quit in your food style, right? Mars is the god of severing and ending, and you need to cut, sever, and end or quit something here. And with the flow to the sun in the fourth house, it may be something that you've inherited or that you've adopted from your childhood. Like you saw your family eat, ice cream every night, and you just kept doing it as an adult, or one of your family members had a substance abuse problem or something, and you don't want to keep it on, so you're going to quit it. So quitting, ending, and severing things that you put in your mouth that may come from father's line in particular. Sun mean in the fourth house means your father's line of addictions, self-undoing, dietary habit styles are not good for you. Okay, so keep that in mind. Just with the general tone of Pluto flowing from the 10th house, you're really powering up in your career and reputation, both financially and in how much, significant transformation your career space can bring you over the next week. I mean, it's still a nice energy between these two planets. It's still a Mars engagement with Pluto, although it's waning. So looking to this sort of hip, hip, hooray, I've got it in my work and career and money story is your story. And as this was approaching before this, let's say Friday or Thursday last week until this Monday, this was Mars approaching Pluto. And when did Mars get in there? Well, on Friday, Saturday. So you've been feeling this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, this empowerment of career and money matters. And some of you may quit a job, right? This is Mars, and it's Mars trining the North Node. You're meant to quit. My Taurus daughter just got a new job and will have to quit her old one, and the new one is her dream job. So it can be also ending and severing ties with an older job or a rental property agreement. Some of you under this thing will make decisive decisions to end a lease or quit a rental agreement of some sort. That's very possible as well. Why am I going by day? Day by day by day. No, 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 no. Okay. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. I hope you listened to the beginning because you can listen to all three and I explain why. Someone says I should append a kind of like disclaimer and an explanation to the beginning of every video. I would do that, except that's going to be boring and people will click away before they start watching, I think. So Geminis, it's a kind of a Mars domination week. And what you're going to get here is Mars is moving through your first house, and Mars doing a move through your first house makes you a warrior, champion, hero, also argumentative and combative if you want to be. You know how to decide and take action. And this is going to be so powerful because your decision-making, action-taking powers flow not only to Pluto in a trine, but to the sun in your third house, ultimately indicating that your ability to activate huge, passionate drive and decision-making, action-taking power, assertiveness, confidence is connected to the deeper meaning of your life, the direction you're meant to go in, your dharmic path. And the sun is in the house of writing, communicating, blogging, social media, teaching, learning, and short distance travel. You're making action plans and decisions about all of those things, but you're powered up from the back end by Pluto turbo power, saying, and everything you're doing is deeply dharmic, it's true north, it's more aligned than it has ever been. I will use me as an example. I'm a Gemini progressed sun. My career is my sun. And I just had a great call with an agent today who wants to take on my astrology book. She approached me for a traditional publisher. And I just say writing, publishing, and my powerful action-oriented drive and ambition this week to not only say yes, but begin to produce the proposal. All right. Anything else I tell you about this? Well, Because your Martian sword is always going to aim across the way. That's your significant other. And if you're in the presence of a partner, a long-term marriage type partner, the way you approach them can be sharp. So if you want to be careful this week, you're so busy with your powerful, powered up writing, communicating, teaching, social media, short distance travel opportunities, etc., that you're making decisions and taking actions on, you may not realize that this sword is aimed at your partner, and it will be for 6 weeks. So be gentle and kind and non-violently communicate to your partner that you're busy as all hell achieving world domination. Alrighty, if you have a partner. All right, Mars domination week ahead. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising, and Mars is in the part of the sky. Woo! Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So no explanation for that, Cancer, but that ring light just fell over by itself. Maybe the wind blew it. I have a ring light because it's darkish and gloomy and a cloudy sky outside right now. And just like this thing just tipped over by itself. I have no explanation. Okay. We'll figure it out later. Oh my God. If it does that again. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign. Mars domination. Mars, thank you, Mars. Mars is in a subtle place. He's in your 12th house. It can look like hospitals, insane asylums, isolation, prisons, but in your own world, it's also how you have addictions and self-undoing. It's also a place where you can generate revenue from far offshore and shores and lands, commercial success, and borderless income. That story is activated because Mars' impulse to succeed, to take action, is in that part of the sky, flowing to the sun in the house of earnings. It's more like your propulsion system for earning money is either deeply unconscious, but propelling you to great, powerful assertiveness and financial increase, sun in the second house, or you will have a boost of financial gain in international borderless revenue from foreign people and foreign shores in this week ahead. Now, with the sun here in the second house, there's a shiny, bright light on things you ingest and eat, and Mars is in the house of self-undoing. And so very likely a few of you Cancers will modify this week with great courage and conviction your dietary or food style. Get ready and let's see what happens. And Venus is saying pleasure, pleasure, money, money, and the sun comes in and shines the light. What pleasure? What money? Be careful. What do you want? Look at it more squarely. Mars is also flowing, of course, to Pluto and the resources you share with your spouse and your long-term monies that are investments. I say chunky money, and people say, what do you mean? Well, you didn't earn it in a paycheck drip, drip. But also, when I say chunky money, I always explain it to you. I say chunky money, and then I say tax rebates, insurance payouts, inheritances, but also money you share with another person, including the bank, including the company that holds your shares in a company, right? Shares in a company, you share the money, investments. So that money's on your radar, and you got jet propulsion from the back end. Pluto's focused on that and looking at Mars in a superior direction. So you're looking at your money axis squarely, right? 2 and 8, but also from a more deep, profound, quiet, still, powerful, soulful, spiritual energy of the 12th house. So it's kind of subtle in some ways. It really is. I expect you to increase your earnings this month or this week, or have new ideas, Mercury, and ways in which you can accomplish that, and to have some shifts in the way you handle these 8th house monies that I've already described that allow you to work on it. Usually with Mars, Pluto, it's very good for commercial success. So, but it's also good for paring away or releasing or letting go of, ending, cutting, severing ways that shared resource money hasn't been working for you. It might just be changing your stockbroker, changing your bank, changing the way you and your partner deposit checks together into a bank account, that kind of stuff. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. The sky opens up a Mars domination week with Mars at the beginning of this week, sitting in Gemini and in a flow to the sun in the house of you. When the sun comes to you as a fire sign, Leo, you like this time every year. Leo season makes you feel super swell. And we get that on the yearly, as you know. So this is your time to have a lot of vitality, a lot of energy. You can burn out a bit. Anyone can when the sun moves through their sign. But for the fire signs, it's less intense. Now, as the sun is moving through your Leo territory, It's being activated by a Mars in your 11th house. A lot of Leos are going to get a kind of excitement, a push, a shove, a favor from a friend in a high place, a kind of collaborative assertion and bold confidence from an elder sibling, a kind of a leg up from somebody who's influential or who's beneficial to you, Jupiter, who really wants to help you. You may also have an increase in the gains in your career. Thank you to Mars up here. But you're also having to make decisions and take action in order for that to occur and to propel yourself into assertiveness regarding matters of greater career gains. I think with Pluto in a trine from your 7th house, you have a lot of support from your partner, your significant other, or a business client, or an audience member, or something like that. This can look really like you got even some kind of powerful, wealthy other person who's got your back and is supporting you here in terms of financial success that stems from 10th house activities, career activities. And when the sun is in the house of you, which is true for the 3 weeks ahead, 4 weeks ahead, a month ahead, you are literally like solar powered. And that's soul energy. If it doesn't burn you up, it'll bring you up to heights of greater satisfaction and alignment, basically. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, what's going on in the sky for you is that we have a Mars domination week as Mars plows through your 10th house of career, bringing drive, assertion, and bold confidence to whatever you're trying to accomplish, especially with Jupiter there magnifying this energy. A few of you may quit a particular job or career path because Mars up here ends and severs. Not to worry, because it's in alignment with some new powerful potential. Pluto in the 6th house of work itself, the job, the co-worker space, indicating if one thing ends, something more powerful can begin. This is not like a hissy fit ending, but rather a closure of some career space that is no longer necessary. However, if you don't close that out, then you're simply going to be driving like a banshee over the next 6 weeks to prove yourself, to be that go-getter, Mars in the 10th house that the Jupiter boss loves. You will benefit from this transit if you're in a workspace where you're needing to escalate your profile or prove yourself. We also see that Mars flows to the sun in the 12th house, and you're drawing solar energy from the sun in the house of spiritual attainment, and also from things that you do in your downtime. Very possibly what can precipitate success in your career or help you do it this week ahead is that you're also able to find things in your downtime that bring you authentic pleasure. Sort of your quiet, private space can be a source of motivation for this success. I like that when Mars is moving through here, not only are you like action oriented and decisive and passionate, but you're really carrying this energy of confidence this week. The sun gives you confidence in work matters. Whether you're self-employed or employed, it's your highest visual in the sky where people are seeing you. And this confidence is beautiful because it has deep roots in the 12th house. It's coming off of the soulful archetypes of many incarnations even that you're extracting this confidence from. Okay, let's continue. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign, Mars domination. Are you traveling to a foreign country? Because Mars loves to travel when he's in the 9th house. Are you quitting your church? Decisions about spiritual philosophy? Are you busy, passionately following through on book publishing deals or things to do maybe with educational pursuits, especially with Jupiter there? Are you going back to school? Are you in school? Are you passionately pursuing decisions and actions regarding publications, including book publishing? These are themes that are going to predominate for 6 weeks, but this week ahead, you do those energies with bold, dynamic, assertive conviction and confidence. It has a very solid root in the solar energy of the 11th house. This can be drawing support from an ally or a friend or a benefactor, being able to use the cheerleading of others in your groups of belonging to get you across a finish line as you take action in the 11th house ninth house matters. I mean, the action and the decisions are all ninth house stories, guys. Go check my 12 meanings of the PDF. It can be travel though, and you may be traveling for servicing greater career gains, or with somebody who's a friend, or traveling for groups and group events this week ahead, but getting a kind of seize the day vim and vigor about that journey and having amazingly lucky results, Jupiter, as a result of travel. The flow to Pluto in the fifth house can indicate things to do with inspiration and creativity and entrepreneurial endeavors, and the word international, foreign lands, or educational, taking a leap to another level of success. Because ultimately this becomes a wedge, and that Pluto Sun opposition finds its expression through that Mars, and that Mars says, we're gung-ho here in all the meanings of the ninth house that I just expressed to you. All right, Scorpio, you, like Aries, are dominated by Mars anyway. He's the Lord of your sign. We have a Mars domination week ahead. Mars is moving in your eighth house of chunky money, meaning inheritances, tax rebates, insurance payouts, stock investment payoffs, dividends, and chunks of money that belong to other people, and shared monies with a spouse. This is not your daily income earnings or anything like that. Now, that kind of money, when Mars goes here, is often about separating. And you may be parsing out, dividing, and separating money connected to Pluto, trine, real estate this week ahead, but doing it with an assertive, bold, confident way of doing it. It can be about, choosing to take bounty by selling a property, listing a property, or indeed purchasing a property. But if you make those decisions, Mars, and trines Pluto, and sextiles the sun, things look good. Mars sextiling the sun is in your career house, and you are literally shining brightly at the top of the sky. You might be getting a lot of accolade. You might be getting a lot of attention. You might actually just feel good. The boss is loving you. So there's a lot of bright light in the top of the sky every year at this time of year for you. And this time, Venus and Mercury are helping out. They're always close to the sun, but they're pretty close this time. And so you're kind of like shining brightly in your career and reputation space, and your public actions are looked at favorably by others. At the same time, Mars is saying, I'm driving for some kind of deepness here, depth, transformation, and regeneration are matters of the eighth house. Sure, it's chunky money, and you get some chunky money, guys, because the Jupiter transit means inheritance money between this May and next money, or that kind of bequeathments, chunks of money, money luck, and the long-term money stories. But I think Mars here could also say, I want to dive into occult knowledge, mysteries, the supernatural, the paranormal, and I want to somehow align that with my career and what my soul really wants my career to be expressing. That's one way of interpreting. Have you hit the like button? Did you forget to? If you did forget to hit the like button, please go ahead and do that. Well, I grabbed myself a little bit of water, and we'll be right back. Thanks, guys. Am I recording this time? Yes, I have jet lag. Oh, you don't care. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. I did my all signs video under extreme exhaustion because I couldn't record on the day my internet was out for a day. And I bet you, someone said, "Oh, this is confusing." And I apologize. I'm sure it was, because I was like not on my game. I was completely dazed with jet lag. So I hope it's not too bad. Go back and listen. The all signs videos came out today. I hope I'm not as dazed and confused as I think I might have been. You would have gotten the content. It's just I would have delivered it in a kind of like, I don't know, zigzaggy way. All right. So did we finish Scorpio? Yeah, occult mysteries and align it with your career and purpose. Okay. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, Mars domination in a fire sign. Of course, you're going to like, Mars domination as a fire sign. You love Mars. Mars is in the house of other people. That may be really about your partner, your marriage partner, your business partner, some other significant person in your life who's got a go-getter, go energy and is going for extreme success in their own lives. But if it's not, then when Mars is here, he cuts, ends, and severs. And possibly for a very few of you this week, you may end a relationship. You will do that more likely if you are a Sag, sun, moon, or rising, mostly rising sign, or moon sign. If you're a moon or rising Sag in the first 5 degrees of Sagittarius, then you are at more risk of ending a relationship or having it end with this transit, because Jupiter brings blessed endings. Maybe it's not the end of the world, but because you also have in the house of justice and courts the sun, there's also the indication, a possible indication of legal matters coming to an end as well, finalizing documents, completing the divorce settlement, that kind of thing. But for most of you, your partner may be a go-getter, or you may spend some time this week separated from your partner. But do you mind? Not really, because the sun sextile gives this bold, confident energy. No matter who Mars and what Mars represents, it still fuels energy into your ninth house as well. Ninth house is, what are you doing, Sag, to do with visas, passports, and travel, higher education, third marriage partnerships, things to do with, your goals in life, your deeper, meaning of life, your spiritual philosophy. When sun's up here, sometimes we get very much in a window of time. And for you, it's always the same time of year where you're starting to ask the deep questions about the meaning of your life. And Mars is indicating maybe some bold, courageous, Jupiterian guide support, teacher, guru energy. So you may be getting enthused about a new spiritual path or some book publishing deal or educational opportunities that are coming through a Jupiter Mars character, which can be somebody who's like a dynamic, exciting, forceful, declarative teacher or guide. And of course, we have this flow back to Pluto in your travel house. Certainly with Mars here indicating flow to 2 travel houses with the sun, and we may find you traveling this week, either domestically or long distance. But again, the travel is generated by a precipitation of a client, a business partner, or a marriage partner being involved in this potential travel narrative. Now, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. In this Mars domination week, and your affinity is for Mars because he's your exaltation lord. Take my class, learn everything you need to know. Mars is cutting, ending, severing with bold conviction and courage anything that gets in the way of your health, but reminding you, like Joe got COVID when Mars was moving through a house of sickness and health. This is also time to be careful and be better attended for your health. And with the sign of Gemini air being often about one's lungs, be more careful with your lungs and lung health. But that side this week, I'm not worried so much this week because he's there for 6 weeks, right? Mars is there for 6 weeks. But this week he's flowing to the sun. So bold, courageous, and assertive decisions and actions can be taken regarding health matters and work matters, tenancy, rentals, and pet matters, especially with the North Node in your house of home, and making dynamic shifts around where you want to live. Are you going to get a new rental agreement? But with the sun in the 8th house, a mortgage. So you may be looking at buying, selling, moving your home. You may be looking at the possibility of a new rental property. These are declarative Mars stories with the sun here, but also flowing back to that 4th house. With the flow to Pluto, it looks like some financial things are improving for you. You have financial improvement in your overall resources with Pluto in the 2nd house. And long game, over the next 20 years, you can get quite wealthy if you play it right. But at this time, Pluto is retrograde. So Mars says to Pluto, money from your past, resources from your past, and maybe job opportunities from your past returning to you this week if you're looking for work. With the sun here, not only do we think of mortgages and banks, but we think also as chunks of money, like a sign-on bonus or a severance package. With Mars here, you may have a severance of a job. You may quit a job, or you may just simply be bold and assertive and dynamically forceful in the work you're doing right now. And the boss will be loving you up, Jupiter. Because ultimately, when Mars is going through this house, he's also slicing karmic debt. He can eliminate real debt, pay off a credit card, but he's also slicing in the house of his joy, your karmic debt. And so there's something about this flowing to the sun in the 8th house, one of the most karmatic houses. You may be ending some karmatic debt relationships with solar figures, men in power, father figures in your life as well. Just look for that broad theme, because it's a long week, right? It starts on Monday, goes all week long. So it's a pretty intense story for you. And certainly Pluto opposite the sun in the house of death. Is there a death of a career path or a death of a father figure that seems to be generating energy in your system in this week ahead? And Mars is helping you decide what to do about that. All right, Aquarius. Yes, you know me. I am an Aquarius rising, one of you. And I also call out you Aquarian sun and moons as well. Mars domination energy is playing out in our house of what inspires enthusiasm in us, what gives us joy and pleasure, and what we are creatively fueled to do and be in this life. It's also the house that connects us to our entrepreneurial projects and also to our children. You may be very connected to those themes this week ahead that I just mentioned. As Mars moves through here, supported by Jupiter, he's also flowing to the seventh house sun. The sun up here can be a significant person in your life. It may be a mate, like a life mate. It may be a significant client or a customer, someone who plays a big, shiny, bright role. You almost want to orbit them. I mean, with Venus here, it could be a female as well. But I would say with the sun in this position, your focus is going to be very much about this other person. And so there's this other person that's dynamically connected to your creativity, your entrepreneurship, and your sexuality. As Renn Butler said something about it, he said sexy or whatever, bravado and swagger. So maybe you've got this kind of like lift off this week ahead and kind of a tantalizing sexual energy and passion and vigor with some other person, male or female, whichever. And the energy of Mars is because you're taking actions in the fifth house, actions on behalf of your children, or your children are being very action oriented, or your creative projects, you're dynamically pushing forward on them with great excitement and passion. But you're also drawing energy from that sun. And so some other person may be fueling your inspiration. Maybe your partner's cheering on your first draft of a novel. Maybe the agent who approached me is this Venus solar energy. And I'm like so excited by her enthusiasm for my book idea that I can't believe myself. And I'm propelled to start working on it this week when I swore I'd start working on it next week. Okay. And then finally, Pluto. You are Pluto. We are Pluto. Pluto is us. We are becoming Plutonian. And it's a once in a lifetime transit over the next 20 years. As Pluto retrogrades, we're consolidating the gains of being Plutonian that we felt in our being since last March, right? We're kind of like grabbing it and integrating it as we go back into one last Capricorn gas. But I bring it up because, of course, this is a week in which we're coming off the Mars trine Pluto, and sextile the sun. So you're feeling that energy from the weekend and going into the early to mid part of this week of Pluto, who's kind of like your fuel chamber for what Mars is doing. Pluto is like regeneration and transformation, and it's not subtle and it's deep. I mean, it's not, oh, I got transformed by a makeover. No, it's inside out, deep metamorphosis, butterfly, caterpillar. So as you're going through this transformative power of Pluto, there's support that the transformation is connected this week to your creativity, your inspiration, your enthusiastic passion for something not only you care about, but you're skilled naturally at. And of course, Mercury's sign, Gemini, is a sign of things to do with ideas, communications, and writing. And of course, Mars is also flowing back to the North Node in the house of writing. So we get a lot of ideas here, but get the gist, right? Your passion for writing may be inspired as well this week ahead. Mars here could say a child is moving away from you, like leaving the home, leaving the nest, or getting farther away. That's possible. But yet it's fueled by a sun, and that child could be very boldly striking out. Maybe because of a solar impulse or because of a relationship. So let them flee the nest if you have children at home, because it's under auspicious circumstances, protected by Lord Jupiter. And then we have Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. In a Mars-fueled energy week ahead, Mars is in your fourth house of home, where you live, what you're doing alone in your domestic, private, dark night, lights are out. We're home now, when no one sees what you're doing out of the public eye. Mars here can be that you're very busy doing construction projects in the home, or moving home around, or doing hammering in the home this week ahead. But it also can be about drive, decisions, and passion in the home, or travel from the home. All of these are possible. And Jupiter protects the whole thing and says that they're all good decisions and actions, and they're good hammerings, and they're good travel from home, far away from home, usually with this Mars. But the flow to the sun in this week ahead is also suggesting that you're drawing solar energy into your actions and decisions that are about improving your health, about finding work that's meaningful, about renting a property that's the one that's going to be joyfully true for you, about moving into changes in and from and away from your home to connect to the perfect situation regarding pets, work, tenancies, rentals, and debts. A bunch of 6th house meanings. With the flow to Pluto in this 12th house, Mars can help you cut, eliminate, and end and sever all of the stuff that you have been doing in your life that makes your life worse because you sabotage yourself. You've been looking at your own sabotaging strategy since Pluto entered your 12th house last year, and you're integrating it now. Honestly, sometimes just Mars says cut and end those childhood ties. What messages did your mother, your father, your ancestral line inculcate you with or embed into your subconscious, because your childhood wounds can be severed and cut because of fuel from Pluto in the 12th house. So that you can find work that is joyful, true, meaningful, and pleasing to you. And that you can improve your health by cutting away not only karmic and ancestral patterns, but things that you do in and from the home. This looks like exercise in the home. Get your yoga mat out, start exercising, and be fueled for better health and enjoyment as well. That kind of thing, Fighting in the home for 6 weeks can happen with Mars transiting your 4th house, but this week ahead doesn't look like fighting as much as it looks like, your inner work with the sun. I will give you a little warning signal, however. Be cautious around July the 25th and 26th, the end of this week, because that's when, of course, Mars will square Mercury in your 7th house. And just for you guys, that could be a really big conversation that looks like an argument with some significant long-term marriage partner happening on like the 25th, which is Thursday, 26th and 27th of the month. And that would be intense energy to just be cautious about. Alrighty. Thanks for listening to this video, everybody. If you are new to my channel, like, subscribe. I do mundane world astrology, including politics when politics is in the news cycle, wars when wars is in the news cycle. Like, subscribe, check out my description box, Patreon community, early access ad free. I get tired of promoting myself. Sky Reader coming up this September, maybe the last time I teach it. I say this every time, it may be my 5th time doing it live. Because I need to write this book that my agent is going to propose. And I think next year I'll be writing this book or finishing this book. So if you want to be in my Sky Reader course and you've always wanted to take this course, please jump in this last time because it's live and you'll learn with me and from me. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful week ahead. It's a Mars domination. Bye-bye.